Wisdom. It's an incredibly valuable asset. Some would say more precious than gold. It's attractive, appealing, admirable. Conversely, a lack of wisdom is the basis of immaturity, blind spots, and bad decisions. Wisdom. It can be gained over time, but it can't be rushed. But wisdom can be shared. That's precisely what we are here to do right now. Today, we are here to hack wisdom, to distill it, to understand it, and to process it. Why? To get better at life. Welcome to The Main Thing. This is your new 9-minute podcast. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg, and I've set out to interview the wisest people I know. We'll see what we can learn from each one when they're faced with an incredibly difficult, soul-piercing question. What happens when a company you built with your family from a kitchen table grows into a nationwide brand and then suddenly slips out of your hands? And what does it take not only to get it back, but to rebuild the way you lead, think, and live? Welcome to the Main Thing podcast, coming to you from Parkwood Studios in Almost Heaven, West Virginia. We gather wisdom from people who've walked through real life and come out the other side with insights that help the rest of us get better at this thing called life. Today's guest is Jodi Scott, founder of Green Goo and CEO of Spry Life, a plant-based first aid and wellness company that she built with her mother and sister from a small kitchen into a nationwide brand carried in thousands of retail locations. With her background in pre-med studies and a master's degree in health psychology, Jodi's work bridges science, plant medicine, and the mind-body connection. But her story also includes a dramatic turning point. After losing her company during a failed sale, Jodi spent 18 months fighting to buy it back, a season that reshaped not only the business, but her philosophies on leadership, presence, and resilience. Today, Jodi helps leaders and families move from survival mode into a more grounded and resilient way of living. She joined us from her home in Lyons, Colorado, about an hour north of Denver. So let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Jodi Scott. Jodi, give me just a second here. I'm putting some balm on my lips. It's not chapstick.
I'm going to join you.
It is not chapstick. It is your product. I had it upside down. Dry skin salve from Green Goo.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I've been using the heck out of it because this winter that we've had has just been brutal.
Yes, indeed it has. It's good to have the goo to the rescue.
Jodi Scott, welcome to the Main Thing podcast. It's great to spend some time with you today and great to be on for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. It is wonderful to be here with you.
So tell our listeners and me why this product is better than, let's say, chapstick or some of the other commercial stuff that I might smear on my lips.
Well, it is packed. Green Goo is packed with fresh plants that we actually press and seal and extract ourselves. So there's no sneaky ingredients.
Wow.
We protect the integrity of the plant. So you're getting that whole plant botanical profile. And there's no chemicals such as phthalates, parabens, petroleums. It's just your lovely beeswax and lipid oils that are friendly with your microbiome and
amazing.
complement your system.
We're going to talk about Green Goo and a lot of other neat things. I just wanted to share with you that not just this product, but you were so kind and generous. You sent us a sampling of your products. And I want to start with this one. My wife came home from work on a Friday, like today. She comes home and she's kind of beat up from the work week because she works in a dental office. And sometimes she sits up front and she checks people in and handles the kind of the administrative side. But she's also a utility player in the sense that she'll act as a dental assistant when they need her to fill in. And so she had done a lot of that chairside work that week, and her shoulders, her upper back were just all wrecked. And so I said, "Here, honey, it was the day that your package had arrived. I'm like, let me rub your shoulders a little bit and use this as our massage oil." And Jodi, it worked almost instantly. 2 hours later, I'm not exaggerating, hand in my heart, she had no pain and it was all better that quickly. And so, wow, that really did its job. And we were blown away. Like, this stuff is for real.
Beautiful. I love it. Yesterday, I just had a hard day. It was a long day. And I thought, how could I reset and make this day better? So I took a bath and then I put that exact product on, the pain relief from head to toe.
Mm,
Afterwards, put my bathrobe on and just like let all my skin just drink it up. And I felt so good afterwards. I was like, I feel like I've reset and I got a
nice.
great night's sleep. So yeah,
Awesome. Wow. That's so cool. And then I'm going to go one more. I guess this the flagship product here? The
that
green is this
is.
this is the Green Goo, like the article.
That's your, like, Swiss Army knife for skincare.
Yeah. So I'm finding many ways to use this, but perhaps being too transparent here. As I get older, I'm getting some of these lovely decorative brown spots on my temples, and they're fine. But it was like it said something on here about dark spots for the face. So I was like, let's see what this might do. So I've been putting it on in the evening, like after I wash my face and ready for bed, and putting that on and experimenting to see what's going to happen with that.
I have a buddy he's probably in his mid-60s, and he started using the skin repair, and I mean, just use it liberally every night. Just
Okay.
let yourself just shine, and, he started using it, and he's like, "Jodi, my mom has never complimented me in my entire life. Every time I see her, it's, "You didn't shave enough, you've gained weight, your hair's a mess, there's always something." He goes, "She looked at me and goes, 'Your skin looks amazing, what are you doing?'" And he's like,
How about
"The
that?
first time in my
How
entire
about
life
that?
my mom
Wow.
complimented me."
Wow. That says a lot.
I thought it was great.
This is not a sales pitch and not a paid endorsement for Green Goo products, but your products came in a box. Does your house have like a landing zone where stuff comes in, packages and mail that you're not ready to deal with in the moment, so it kind of piles up in that landing zone?
You know it, and we have a shipping and receiving on our property, and I still do that.
Well, your box of products has made its way out of the landing zone, and this is in the master bath. This is in my backpack because I keep it with me at all times. This has made its way to the first aid cupboard in the kitchen, and so yeah, I think that hopefully that tells you a lot about our acceptance of your product.
Thank you, I love that.
Hey,
I
we've been
can't live
talking.
without it, nor should you.
We've been talking for 5.5 minutes here, according to the clock, and I just realized that. Gosh, I'm being very rude. I haven't taken care of a key element of our process, which is to share with our listeners and our viewers who are these two people talking to each other and how in the world are they connected. You and I are laughing and making jokes and cutting up and sharing stories, so obviously we know each other a little bit. And I received a lovely email from you, and you mentioned that you were kind of digging what we were talking about with wisdom sharing, and I think you commented on the authenticity aspect of our show, which just went straight to my heart because that's what we strive to be is authentic and all about wisdom. Then I noticed as I read further that you were a founder of a company, and we love to talk to founders because founders have so many rich and valuable stories. And so I wrote you back and I'm like, this sounds like a fit. Let's schedule a meeting and off we went.
Thank
What am
you.
I leaving out?
No, well, you're spot on, and I so appreciated that, 1, not just the message that you are sharing in this space and the storytelling, because like, our mission is spread goodness, and our vision is bringing forward time-honored traditions, and it's not just the plant integrity and the products themselves, it is the value of storytelling, and the way you storytell and you really create a space to just go deeper and get down under the layers. We'll call it under the layers of the skin in the same
Right.
way.
Good
And
metaphor.
yes, and just bring some good content to share so that we can walk away perhaps living a life more in alignment or more in creativity or more in kindness. And so
Yeah.
those are some of the things that drew me to reaching out.
Cool. Well, here we are. Speaking of stories, Jody, we're talking about Green Goo, and you're giving me products to sample, and you're talking about your shipping and receiving area, and everything sounds hunky dory. But I know that it hasn't always been that way, and I know from our conversations that you had to overcome some adversity. I'd love to hear you share with me and our audience just the full on story of the decision to sell the company and then the buyback. And I'd love if you would really pull back the curtain and take us through all the twists and turns and the emotion that was involved in that part of your founder journey.
Will do. So it has been a ride. So my mom's sister and I started this, Green Goo over 15 years ago. And our mission was to reinvent first aid. We wanted to bring plant-based solutions rather than your traditional chemical-laden products and prove that plants could work better. And we really forged the path. The term plant-based was not a term that people were using. The first time I sat down in front of a pharmacy buyer and I said, "I've got a plant-based first aid for you," he just about fell out of his seat. Those 2 words, Jody, don't go hand in hand. I said, "Well, you just try it, and then you can tell me how you feel." And it made the shelf. So we grew to 150,000 points of distribution in less than 5 years. I have a medical background. My sister's an herbalist and a midwife. I was pre-med, master's in health psychology. There is no business 101 or, you know, how do you forecast and P&L and so forth. It was very much learning on the fly. And what did it mean to bring a consumer packaged goods to the world in a time where there was absolutely nothing like this and arguably still isn't. And I was traveling 3 weeks out of the month and gone all the time, and the best description I can describe is just fight or flight. There was always a fire, and you're
Yeah, I can
constantly putting
relate.
it out.
I can relate. I call it being on high alert.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then the pandemic happens, and we're pretty much all retail. Like, if you have poison ivy, you go to your local pharmacy to
Yeah,
get your first aid solution.
sure.
At the time, we weren't shopping online the way we do today. And in a matter of weeks, no one's going into stores. And I looked at my team of almost 50 people and I thought, I might have to let you all go. And we just pivoted beautifully. The team, it's a testament to a strong culture and strong values. And we were able to pivot very quickly, build an online platform when the whole world's trying to build an online platform
Yeah.
and create a
It's like a
distribution.
race,
It
an arms
was.
race.
And I'm not kidding you, we probably had at one point 10 shipping locations, including employees who were shipping from their home so
Gosh.
that we could bridge the gap to get to a formal
Wow.
facility. We're shipping till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Mother-in-law, mom, dad, all of us.
Yeah.
We did it though. We made it and we did not have to let go a
Do I
single employee.
recall accurately, and you're talking about this team and you and your sister and your background and how, like, people had the skills all, that came in, and your mom builds websites. Did I get that right?
Yeah, we grew up in the military and we moved around all the time at 3 months to 3 years. She always had to reinvent her career, and she had this reflection, and I was in the 3rd grade, and computers had just come out, like MS-DOS stuff, like, she was
Yeah,
my
yeah.
first computer teacher, and she recognized the value of like, portable concept of computers, and she's like, "I'm gonna learn that, then I don't have to reinvent my career." So fast forward, now she's a computer programmer, self-taught graphic designer, website developer. And you didn't have things like Shopify to build websites,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So she's building
Right.
these things from
Straight
scratch.
code,
Yeah,
HTML code, right, I
you
get it,
got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so it's always great to have an IT person in your camp, just saying, because it's not me. So she was the other angle in the trifecta, if you will.
Yeah.
And,
So you
so
guys are just bootstrapping, everybody all hands on deck to get product to market, going from retail to B2C, right? Straight to consumer through the web.
and protecting the integrity of our process, because 'cause we're still
Yeah.
bringing the plants to the manufacturing facility and extracting them ourselves, which really goes outside of a traditional manufacturing SOP.
I can't even imagine how much that's true.
Yes. And so we get through, the pandemic and I recognize I see all of these companies that failed, friends companies
Yeah.
and yes, and truly the ones that were able to insulate themselves are the ones who the leaders in the OTC space. They're
Mhm.
huge companies, the biggest companies. They can insulate risk. I knew that if another pandemic came or another situation arose, we weren't going to be able to weather it. And so we needed to find financial resources. So the original intent was not to sell, it was just to find financial resources.
Okay.
Through that journey, we found a group that was very interested, and what I liked about this is there were a number of traditional chemical-laden companies that wanted to add a natural bolt-on to their portfolio, but it felt really
Hmm.
disingenuous.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and I just, wanted to really authenticate the early adopters of plant-based and see if there was a way to really just preserve that. And so
Hmm.
we found a group that was very focused on plant-based, and they wanted to create a portfolio and put us in the portfolio. And so we get to continue running the company, we get to leverage each other's resources, be a part of a bigger organization, and grow with them. So it seemed like a really great thing on paper.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Plot
then
twist.
one of the founders was faced some major legal and financial issues.
Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, there's feds ratings with feds and all kinds of things, unfortunately, and
And I'm
ultimately,
guessing you guys are deep into like you're way
it's
far
done.
toward yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and ultimately, they lost their financial resources and tarnished their reputation, and I had less than 24 hours to terminate my entire team, the one thing that we had fought so hard to protect.
Gosh.
And that's my mom and sister. That's my husband, my brother-in-law, best friends from college who had changed their careers, employee number
Good
1,
heavens.
gone.
4 minutes ago, you said how dear that is to you, having those employees, those 15 people around you, and that had to be so painful.
It was gut-wrenching. I mean, the amount of guilt and anxiety and sadness, I mean, you're overwhelmed with all of it,
Because
and
you had to sever completely, clean break from that financed structure, which they became attached to your human resources as well.
yeah, because we didn't
So
own
you
the
had to
company
sever
anymore.
that clean break.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing you had to replace some capital with different sources.
there was no replacement. Now
What did you do?
the
What
company's
did
done. So, production stopped. We have no jobs. We've lost our sense of purpose, and we don't know how we're gonna pay our bills because we
Where were
also
you?
lost
We're here 2021, 2022.
2023.
Okay, okay,
2022, 2023 time.
okay.
Yeah. I guess it was towards the end of 2022 because then we started the buyback process.
So we fade to black there briefly, and then how did you come out of it? How did you turn it around?
Well, we were sitting at the dinner table after all the tears, and, we didn't know. The paralysis was huge. You're anxious about the future in terms of how you're gonna pay your bills. You're ruminating on the past, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and, all of a sudden, I pulled out my lip balm to put it on, and I recognized, like, I don't have that much left, and then I started thinking, "Well, my skin repair, I can't live with that." So my mom and sister and I was like, "How much do you have? How much do you have?" So we started measuring each other's inventory because we
Gosh,
were like, "We can't live without
desperate.
this."
Yeah.
And then my sister's like, "Are we gonna have to start making this in our kitchen again?" And then emails are coming in. My son is a paraplegic. He can't live without this stuff. My mother is a diabetic. She can't live without this stuff. My daughter has eczema. And I'm like, "We have to buy this back." But I still like, the thought came, but then it just kinda went, like, "How on earth can anyone even do this? We have
Yeah.
nothing."
Yeah.
And very soon thereafter, like, within the hour, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've got a meeting with my coach on Monday." And I had hired this coach that I only had known for a couple months, but I was so excited going into this partnership. I'm like, "CEOs, they have coaches nowadays. I'm gonna get myself a
Yeah.
coach."
Business coach, sure.
Yeah, and so I'm texting him, I'm like, "Timmy, I'm not gonna be able to show up Monday at 5. I can't pay you." And he's like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
Brief exchange, and he's like, "I will be there every Monday at 5 if you show up. I'll be there."
Oh, wow.
And, in that moment, it didn't feel like a wow. It actually felt like a burden because when you have that sense of paralysis, it's like, it's like that saying with the horse and the water, like, can't force him to drink. I was like, "I can't drink this. I'm not this just seems like another thing for me to deal with." And so I had no intention of going on Monday. I was like, "Can't do it." And then that Monday rolled around and I just felt guilty. I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna show up and be like,
One,
'Timmy,
maybe just one time,
yeah,
right?
I
I'll
appreciate you.
talk him out of it.
Appreciate you, buddy, but, this isn't happening.'" Um, I get on the call and he's like, "So how are you gonna do this? Like, what are you gonna do?" Well, first he said, "What are you gonna do?" And I was like, "Well, blah, 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 we thought we might buy it back. I don't know how we're gonna do it, da, da, da," you know? And he's like, "Alright, you ready to start your mental fitness boot camp?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "You're gonna set your alarm every 3 hours, and every 3 hours, you're gonna do a presence exercise." And I'm like, "Set my alarm every 3 hours?" First, he stopped me there. Like, I don't even know what that means. And presence exercise? What on earth is that?
And I really don't even wanna do any of this anyway.
Oh, none of it. I just wanna crawl in a hole and pretend like the whole world doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
And I'm like, "What's a presence exercise?" He's like, "Well, you're gonna feel your feet on the ground, you're gonna feel your muscles, you're gonna watch the clouds go by, and you're gonna really look at the clouds. We're gonna do some deep breaths." And I'm like, "Timmy, this is not the time to meditate. This is the time to be doing. I need to be doing."
Right.
And he's like, "You can't do. You need to be. We need to build your mental fitness so you know how to do this. The same way you go to the gym and you work out, we're gonna build this muscle and we're gonna get you mentally fit so you will find your way. Because
Right.
without doing this, you're not gonna figure it out. You're not gonna have clarity. You're not gonna have precision. You're not gonna have the confidence. This is what we're doing."
Yeah. Wise words there from Tim.
Yeah. Thank you,
And
Timmy.
this duality of do versus be has been coming up frequently over the last year in my conversations like this with guests. And I have a theory. I can't prove this, but our whole world, our whole, certainly our American society, if not our whole world, most of it has gotten way out of balance toward the do and starving the be.
I want everyone to hear that again. That is so important.
The world has gotten way out of balance toward the doing, and they're starving the being, the state of just being, the kind of things that Tim was talking about, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling your breath enter your lungs and fill up your belly, watching the trees blow and the blue sky out back. Yeah.
And I thought being was no action, right? Like, I thought being was not productive, and I thought being was, not pushing forward, all these things. It was so interesting going through that exercise and that process of getting into alignment with your mind and your body and your spirit, and you can do that in a place of movement. It is just a different way of being. And it's really expansive, and your body's not in fight or flight, which is very interesting to me too, because when you're in fight or flight, it's really narrow. You can only see so much. It's designed to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then your body responds to that.
Hmm.
And your body can do that in acute situations. But we, to your point, are in this state of doing for so much. Our immune systems are being wrecked. That's why we have chronic skin conditions now, arguably.
Okay.
And so it was a really interesting way to shift from survival mode to like sovereignty. And
Yes.
I really like have this. I went to a conscious capitalism conference there later, and all of it would have just been another language to me had I not had Timmy really just like open up my world to this. And they did all these different platforms and speakers to talk about how you can be more conscious and be. And then the last speaker, I just really appreciated this. He's like, "Okay, everybody, you got all these hacks now. Now you know different ways that you can be." He's like, "What I want to challenge you to is being in a state of prayer." And he just stopped. And he's like, "Try to be in a state of prayer as much as you can throughout the day." And it was such a I was like, "That's beautiful." That just so landed for me
Mm.
and, like, kinda helped my mind, my body, and my spirit just kinda shift into that being in just a real authentic way, and I'll say that muscle of mental fitness boot camp has taught me how to be in that place in very difficult situations now, and he wasn't wrong. I did that every 3 hours. The first time was horrible. I was like, all the thoughts just keep flooding in and they won't go away.
Right. Choo, choo, choo,
Yes.
choo. Yes.
And eventually I got, call it like Star Wars, the force be with you. I finally got to a place where I could like field those, like let those thoughts go away, really focus on that sensory experience. And then I got to where I could do it longer than 30 seconds. I could do it for 2 minutes. And then I started to really crave it. And when my mental fitness boot camp was done, I found that I would just naturally weave it into my days,
Right
and that
on.
was his thing. He's like, now you don't necessarily need to set the alarm. Just like when you're washing your hands, doing the things that you're doing throughout the day, just like shift into that state of presence and you'll start to feel the benefits. And what's cool is the science backs it. The
Yeah.
science supports you don't have to meditate for 2 hours to get like the physical effects of it.
Yeah.
So,
We can see our MRI images of the brain now, and we can see that impact lit up, on a scan. It's amazing.
so yes, it took me 18 months to buy the company back,
So,
but
yeah, you started working with Timmy. That wholesale changed you. Take us from there to today. How did you put the rest of the pieces together?
it gave me the clarity to one foot in front of the other because I couldn't even do that prior to it, and allow myself to be open and curious to navigate the situation. So whether it was meeting with investors, meeting with the board, continuously restructuring it, meeting with counsel to find the various ways because it had to be tactical and there had to be financing and resources to do it. And ultimately, it took us 18 months. And it was such
Okay.
an interesting 18 months too, because I couldn't rush the process. And of course, that was really good for this exercise for Jody and being
Slash frustrating.
yes, and having to be like, "Okay," and I don't have financial resources, so it's how do I be and not do, and also do that economically and finding just little ways throughout the day to be able to do that and fill my time and be productive in the way that I think I needed to serve myself. I wrote a book, that was a really great place to put things as well. But 18 months later, we were able to sign on the dotted line and get the transaction across the finish line and start production, start telling our customers what had happened. And oh my gosh, like the joy that I got from their support and
Yeah.
them cheering us on was like, I mean, I was in tears, like
Yeah.
tears. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that Green Goo is still their first choice.
Amazing. Yeah. It's a beloved product line, a beloved brand. Yeah. You've shared a couple of the stories with me, and I think I've read on your website a couple of those stories. They're very heartwarming, and I can't imagine the amount of joy and pride that brings to you. You guys reemerged and you're back in business full on late 2024, early 2025?
It was the December, like, 26th of 2024
Yeah, okay,
that we officially
okay.
got it done.
So you had a full run 2025?
We did and 2025 was very much slowly, taking our pennies and
Yeah.
and getting things back into production and then
Mhm.
putting them back through the process, kinda like I'm putting oil in the gears again and cranking things on, and, I mean, we're still getting into production. Some of our favorite formulas are coming back.
So give us a update on the company. How many employees now? How many locations? And not just now, but like what do you will it be over the next expanse?
Yeah, well, we're here for the long haul. We know that. It's tiny now. Well, we only have 8 employees today. So now I'll say there's 2 reasons for that. One, we're able to utilize the history of building the company before and
Yeah,
leverage that momentum and groundwork that we put in. So that is an advantage to this moment today. And we also have to keep bootstrapping it so that we can keep putting everything back into production.
yeah,
And from a retail standpoint, the cost to do business with everything importing and taxes and so forth is much higher. So we had to come to uh, our sort of fork in the road where a lot of companies, they just changed their how they were assembling things, right? We'll just get cheaper parts, we'll do this and maybe smaller sizes and then that's what we'll continue and market. And we said, "No, we're not compromising our formulas. We're not compromising the efficacy. We're just gonna change our business model."
Mm.
So, we're in much less retail and more Amazon and website. And that
Okay.
allowed us to protect the price point for our customers and
Yeah.
still maintain margin.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, because I would have never thought, like, here we are when we talked about the pandemic and shifting to online, it's a totally different world. You can get your poison ivy relief in less than 2 hours. It's at your
Right.
doorstep by the time you hop in the car and go get it. So, it's been really fun to see, first aid reinvented with
Mm.
modern technology and transportation and Amazon and Instacart.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story with us of your founder's journey, the dark moment, the reemergence. Oh, that's awesome. Jody, I have a note here in one of our conversations. You talked about something that really resonated with me, and it's a concept called radical honesty. Tell me about what that means to you, how you apply that concept, and how it shows up in your leadership.
Mm, I don't know how to exist without it. I find radical honesty part of, like, that presence and alignment
Hmm.
that without it, you're not fully in touch. And so radical honesty for me is everything. I and I'm talking about something the other day. I was telling my daughter this. I was like, dishonesty isn't because I'm worried about someone thinking that I'm honest or that I'm telling them the truth. It is a part of your DNA. There's no other way to exist. So it is transparency in our process, our ingredients, with our employees and embodying that. I mean, our mission is spread goodness, and in order to spread goodness, you wanna have that, like, alignment and radical honesty, and it's also the hard stuff, It's okay, you can come to that without judgment, and I love having that in our ecosystem because with radical honesty comes trust, and trust is just the foundation for creativity and innovation and an incredible system, meaning your culture and your team. And then what I love is that it builds leadership that then goes home in a radically honest, trusting sense of themselves and then they bring that home to the kitchen table because when you think about it, we have such an impact on what happens in other people's homes. And if you're like in this toxic, dysfunctional, non-trusting environment, and then you're selling something you're seeing the same thing,
Mm.
and you go home, guess who gets the brunt of that? Their partner,
Hmm.
their children. And so that halo effect of that radically honest, trustworthy leadership then ripples and just continues to make the world a better place. And so I look at it from like that stewardship as well. And I really appreciate when I do meet a family member from one of our team members and they just have such joyous things to say about their partner. Like, my partner's such a better person for being here and loves coming to work and loves what they're doing. Like, that is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, in addition to everything you said, with radical honesty comes this offload of background emotional stuff where you're worried about this, that, and the other, how someone's going to perceive you. Am I pleasing them? Am I keeping up with the persona or the storyline that I have going with this person, which is just preposterous. But I mean, we encounter that in our world. So if you can take all that, offload it, how much does that open up in you? How freeing does that offload feel? Both of us just our
Mm.
postures just rose and aligned vertically when just even talking about it. It feels freeing.
I just got so excited because and a perfect example is when I would come into a meeting in my fight or flight state, and I wasn't being radically honest with my team. I had 10 things on my mind and something went wrong before I walked in, and I go into this meeting and you're like, "Why isn't anyone talking? Why aren't we getting something done? What is happening here?" And to your point, because people all of a sudden everyone else is in their fight or flight, and then they're worried that they need to people please, or they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, or they're going to be embarrassed by what they have to say. And that's lack of trust. And I
Yeah.
love now when I have someone come into a meeting and being like, you know what? I'm coming in not great because I just got an email that just tipped me over. The fact that they can say that coming into the room, and then we can either workshop it together or just make space for the fact that, like, all of a sudden they feel like they can rise, like rising tide lifts all boats, and all of a sudden, like, everything lifts a little bit and you're like, "Okay, now we can get back to the thing we need to workshop."
It's a beautiful thing. That again, that's from one of our prior conversations, but I thought very, very worthwhile to dive back into that a bit for our wisdom seekers and for me again. So thank you. Jodi Scott, what's the main thing you've learned in your lifetime so far?
Presence.
Yeah. That's that
Yeah.
okay. So first of all, wow, that packs a lot of power in that one word. And this is perhaps the shortest main thing that's ever been shared as a wisdom nugget on this show. Your main thing is presence. Jody, would you unpack that for us? Because I know
Mhm.
there are layers of meaning and nuance, like ingredients that are formulated into one of your wonderful products.
Presence for me has been instead of pushing, listening, instead of doing, being, and really getting in alignment with myself, my actions, my body, my feelings, and just really being in that moment. And in that moment, I have precision, clarity. I am able to pull from, there's a musician who helps a lot of the other musicians, Rick Rubin. And he
Yeah.
made that statement that was like, creativity isn't what you do, it's being in the state so that it flows, so that it happens. And I didn't understand that until, I started this journey and really appreciating what comes from being in that just state of stillness. And yet I'm still going through life. I'm not stopping what I'm doing. It's just that sense of awareness, that heightened sense of awareness. And what it does from a physiological standpoint has been really fun too, in terms of really understanding the value of that and how my body responds in a positive way. And
Yeah.
and the science is there. Cortisol goes down, inflammation goes down, your skin decides it's not in a state of fight or flight, and your mindset is stronger. And so the value that I've been able to get from presence and investing in the discipline of presence
Mm.
has just given me so much joy.
I love that. I hadn't thought about the physical manifestations of that, but that's important too. Wow. Jody, as I think about your main thing, presence, upon first hearing, a listener or a viewer might think that this is something that I need to put on. I need to put on this wardrobe, this makeup. I need to put on this hairstyle. I need to put on this look, this persona, this facade. But I contend, and now check me on this. I contend that it's a stripping away, it's a discovery of what's real, it's realizing what's true, it's an understanding of oneself, and that there's hardly a putting on at all, but it's kind of the opposite of that.
I think you're spot on. It's hard to put the ontology and the vernacular around, as I told my daughter, this muscle, And I think a lot of times when we think about making shifts in our lives, we kinda give the mind the control tower, like, "Okay, I'm not supposed to feel that way, I'm not supposed to think that way, I need to not do this," and what I found in this was the value in identifying it through, call it the 5 senses, exercises, and building that muscle to bring me to a place of that awareness where this frontal lobe is not fully in charge, and
Yeah.
and my body is just as much a part of this heightened sense of awareness relationship as my thoughts. And so when I think of giving, like, what does that mean to someone? I kind of just go back to what Timmy says, like, set the alarm. Do it, set the alarm every 3 hours and see where it takes you.
Mhm.
And it's just a new way of operating.
Yeah. Wow. So, as far as when this wisdom landed for you and when you said, "Okay, this is what I really need to guide me." is presence. Was it around the time of the adversity, the buyback, and starting to work with Timmy? Is that when it came together for you?
It really was, and I will say, I still didn't understand it when I started my little mental fitness boot camp, but
Okay.
at that point, I didn't know what else to do, and
Yeah.
it was like the best description I can give someone, when they show the example of, like, the Neanderthal went from, like, crawling to all of a sudden, like, standing straight up?
Mhm.
It was very much like that, like, I
Yeah.
just slowly started to, like, find my posture, and then all of a sudden, I was like, this is what it means. And so it doesn't happen overnight, and you continue to, like, sort of invest in that muscle. I can tell if I am, like, starting to get into that rush mode. And now let me remind everyone here, like, people would describe me that I was a busy bee in a past life because I just would buzz past people, like, just boo. And so, I'll catch myself getting
Maybe
into
even
that.
maybe even knock you over because
Yes,
you're in
completely.
you're in my way.
Just gotta go. And I can just catch myself and then I stop and then I'm like, "Okay, I need to spend a little bit more time in presence to make sure that I'm not, like, getting back into that, fight or flight state of being that
Yeah.
really wears your body out." And when you think about burnout, and I was burned out, when
Mhm.
you get to burnout, like, you keep being like, I gotta push," and then all of a sudden, like, your mind is racing and your body's exhausted. And you don't know what to do, and it's so interesting when you're recharged, your mind is quiet and your body is powerful. And, I think about when I was last night watching the Olympics and, the girl who won the ice skating, and you
Yeah.
saw her in just such a state of alignment,
Yeah.
and there's that joy that she brought into it, and you could feel it. You could feel her in alignment, and it's like, that's it. She's
Yeah.
super present.
Yeah. Great example. Great example. A beautiful main thing. That's the word that comes to mind is when we're in that state, when you are in your presence, it's beautiful to behold. Let's probe a little deeper into your main thing, which is presence. Could you share a recent personal example when maybe you were a little out of presence and you had to find that again? You had to recenter to deal with a challenge or a problem or a situation.
I mean, it happens every day. It really does, like, I wouldn't say that it's as, I'm gonna say, tragic as the selling or buying back the company moment, but what I will say is I can clearly identify now that when I do have to face a major crisis, I have more things in my toolbox as a result, and I think that's also part of my passion for sharing this with people because heaven forbid death in the family, a chronic illness, you lose your job, all of these things, these are really helpful tools to have. But I would say they guide me every day throughout the day in terms of I've got a business crisis, something didn't show up, we're going to be late. All the things that come with
Yeah.
business.
Bad news of
And
any form.
yeah, and just instead of reacting, when you can just take a moment to take a deep breath, then you can respond. You just have, like, a little bit more clarity and perhaps something that you weren't thinking comes into the mix. I will share a story that isn't mine, but I
Yeah.
thought this was really relevant and would be fun.
Awesome.
The other day, my daughter came up to me and she was like, "Mom," she was like, "You're not gonna believe it. I had an exam today," and the teacher pulled me aside afterwards and was like, "I need to talk to you." And we both had the same look. She was like, "I know. I thought I was in so much trouble." He goes, "I really wanna applaud you for how you take your test." And she just looked at him perplexed. She said, uh, he goes, I watched you rub your fingertips together, take a couple deep breaths." And he goes, "And then you just got in the moment, and I saw how you worked through the problems you did know. And then you came back, you took a couple deep breaths, and you went back and worked on the problems you didn't know, and you leveraged what you did know to problem solve the rest of them. And by the way, you got a really great result on this test. And I want to tell you what you're doing, keep doing that. You were really present." And she goes, "Mom, it was like I was talking to you." And I was like, that is so cool that, like, you are feeling the impact of living in that way.
And the teacher could see it visibly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool. And as a parent, gosh, must give you quite a bit of pride.
It gave me so much joy. I was like,
Yeah,
"That makes it all worth it." That makes
yeah.
that day when we're like, "Oh my gosh, how are we gonna pay our garbage bill, kiddo? I don't even know." And you know what? If you can have this wisdom at a much younger time in your journey, then wow.
Great place to leave it, Jody. This has been fabulous. What a great conversation. What a great study of wisdom together. And I just can't thank you enough. So long for now. Hey, it's Skip here to share just a quick final couple of reflections on our wisdom conversation with Jodi Scott. Number one, I love how it's a family business. It reminds me of a jazz ensemble. You've got a saxophonist, a keyboardist, a guitarist, but we've got Jodi with her background in health sciences, her sister with herbology, and her mom a web designer. Together, they make wonderful music, actually wonderful products. Secondly, I love how when adversity hit, the pandemic, the failed financial transaction where she tried to sell the business, Jodi had to act quickly, and she had the presence of mind and the courage to pivot from a traditionally retail model for her business to a direct to consumer. That saved the business. I'm very impressed by that. A quick, decisive action. More of these wisdom conversations that I engage in, there's an unmistakable pattern. Here's what I see. Adversity is the rough outer shell for something beautiful inside, if we can just get there. It's like an oyster. That adversity is that tough outer shell. It's ugly. It's rough. You can even cut yourself on it. But if we can make it through to the inside, that's where the good stuff is. Sometimes even precious gem in the form of a pearl. But for that adversity, Jodi Scott wouldn't have met her business coach, and she wouldn't have landed upon a huge revelation, which was the importance of her executive or leadership presence, the importance of her mindset more than anything else. She wouldn't have gotten there without the adversity. That's what stood out to me. I can't wait to hear your insights, your observations. What stood out to you? Drop me a line, share that by an email to info@themainthingpodcast.com. That's all for now. See you again next time. That goes by incredibly fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're hacking wisdom. Thank you for listening to this wisdom conversation. Let's give a big hearty thank you to the crew of the Main Thing Podcast. These are the folks who truly keep the wisdom pipeline flowing. Audio engineer Bob Hotchkiss, strategy advisor Andy Malinowski, public relations and partnerships guru Rachel Bell, social media and digital marketing expert Chloe Linneberg, graphic designer Emma Malinowski, and of course our patrons, those generous folks who provide monthly funding support to help underwrite our costs of production. I couldn't do it without you, nor would I want to. Your feedback matters a lot. If you have a question, a suggestion, maybe an idea, or even a nomination of a future show guest, I'd love to hear from you. Email me at info@themainthingpodcast.com. Well, that's a wrap for this show. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg, signing off for now and inviting you to join us again next time for another special delivery of wisdom.